Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return finally once again with more of our F1 22 Haas Road to Glory. Today we head out to Marina Bay, of course, for the Singapore GP. 6 races to go of Season 1 of this career mode. Safe to say it's had its ups, it's had its downs, but we're doing pretty well, I think, as we head in towards the flyaway season to finish off Season 1. Of course, we've now caught up and overtaken real-life Formula 1 in the Haas Road to Glory. Before we jump into this, though, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the overwhelming support on the opening 4 videos from our F1 22 My Team Season 3, and of course a massive thank you for all the continued support on the channel as a whole. 83,000 subscribers, that's been ticked off the list now as we make our way pretty swiftly towards 100k. So, you know, if you're new around here and you do go on to enjoy this video, please do make sure to leave a like and get yourself subscribed as well for daily Formula 1 content on this channel. And yeah, Singapore though, this weekend. Of course, if you missed out on the Italian GP, we'd highly recommend going back and checking out. An interesting affair from the Monza circuit. Performance-wise at the moment, we're still pretty much level pegging with McLaren, but both of us able to deliver a lot closer to, you know, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris in this series. Championship-wise, we're hanging on to the Mercedes boys at the moment. They're still sat P7 overall in the Drivers' Championship, 4 points behind George Russell, and yeah, sat currently P4 in the Constructors, looking pretty safe ahead of Alpine and McLaren here, like we said, with just 6 races to go. But this weekend, want to see if we can try and get, you know, I would love to finish either ahead of the Mercedes or at least between them in this championship, but it's going to be tough. We're going to have to try and keep our head down and really focus. Singapore this weekend, probably going to be the longest race on the calendar. Let's get into it though, here, back finally at Marina Bay. Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like. Right, well here we are then, Saturday night from Marina Bay here in Singapore, and fingers crossed we can try and get a good lap at the car. Singapore's often been a bit of a weird one for me on the F1 games. Saturday pace is often a little bit weak, but then we get into Sunday's race, and often we kind of get to grips with the car. It feels a lot better on race fuel than qualifying fuel. However, this weekend, we could see some changeable conditions come Sunday's race, so you never quite know what might happen here. But let's try and see if we can get a first lap nice and dialed in then. Of course, riding on a high from the last couple of weekends. Of course, Monza didn't quite go the way we wanted it, but still good solid points, which is what we're really aiming for between now and the end of the year. I think we're kind of just trying to get ourselves set up, of course, ready for Season 2, where hopefully we can be a bit of a threat towards the front runners, but a little bit of front lock-in down through there. One of the longest laps on the calendar, and one of the most difficult laps on the calendar as well here at Singapore, so making sure you're focused and dialed in is absolutely essential. Round in the final corner though, to finish off my first lap. Hasn't felt too bad, a 1:38.7. Slower than Zhou Guanyu in his Alfa Romeo, but often Singapore can deliver some weird moments. Definitely a lot more time to find though. As we cross over the halfway stage here of Q1, we're still way down on where I'd want to be. P18 at the moment, but now we've got a lap in. Let's try and see how much we can improve there. It's a horrible way to start a second lap, but we need to just really start throwing the car completely at it. Both Williams cars desperately wanted to try and find more time as well. Like I said, Singapore can be a bit of a red herring though. We'll just see. We'll try and build up more pace, build up more confidence, try and improve on this lap, and then of course know how much more there is to try and find on our final run there, which we should just about be able to squeeze in. Our second lap has felt a whole lot tidier here, as we are just slowly able to bring up the pace to where I want it to be. Whoa, no we're not! Oh no! I think we were about 6/10 up, but we've looped it round down at the final corner. At least it'll mean we can get out with a bit more time on the clock for my final run there, but we know now we can easily get this thing down probably towards the 37s, but just really struggling to find what we need. Right, we need to be laser focused then as we get ready to start our final qualifying lap here from Marina Bay. Mick Schumacher currently sat about a second quicker than me, so that's kind of the time we need to be finding here. And honestly, I don't think that's going to be impossible then. Let's really try and focus and make sure we clip all of these apexes and really make Marina Bay as wide as possible there as we tap curbs through turn 1 and turn 2. Try and short shift out of turn 3. That little bump on the exit, you can just see there, really trying to go aggressive with the car and the lines there. Out onto the Raffles Boulevard, open up the DRS there, hang it right up towards the wall on the exit, and then of course fling the car over to the right hand side, keep it up here as you spot the 100 metre board down into sector 2 then. Nice and tidy on the brakes. Made a bit of a mistake through here on our fastest runners. There we go, connecting the car with the apex. A bit of negative camber through there as well. We just breezed the wall. That's going to unsettle us through the next corner as we have to attack the curbs a lot more than I ever would have wanted there. Unsettle the car, and that's not going to do us any favours as we head through what used to be the Singapore Sling. Again, attack the curbs as best as possible, avoid that curb like the plague. But at the moment, we are not able to improve there. Really chuck it late on the brakes down at the hairpin. That's going to put us back into the green, and then open up the DRS on the exit of the corner. Final sector of the lap. There's definitely a bit more time to be had round here, but it's just about trying to get the lap hooked up there, running right up towards the wall on the exit. Tiny correction there as we try and get the car nice and straight through the next couple of turns and avoid that curb as best as possible there, or a little bit of a wobble on the exit. But now just a handful of corners to go on this lap, attacking the curbs, trying to get the car exactly where I want it as we head through these final couple of turns there. Avoid the orange curb on the inside there. One more corner to go then here from Marina Bay. We are way up in the green, but is it going to be anywhere near enough? P14, it's not great. There we go then, a very, very interesting end to Singapore GP qualifying. George Russell fastest there, the only man into the 136s, but a couple of tenths away from Mick Schumacher. Isn't as bad as I thought it would be. It is very, very tightly bunched, sort of from about, P10 down to P14 there. I mean, Hamilton having a bit of a rough qualifying there, 7 tenths away from his teammate behind both McLarens and Fernando Alonso. But we need to put qualifying behind us. We need to focus on the race. Like I said, changeable conditions, anything can happen. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super, super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula 1 returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging race. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and 10 rights of mostly slow corners, but we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso and Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher, Albon, Bottas and Mr. Monaco. SAINZ, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Gasly, Lando Norris and Stroll. Latifi, Hamilton, Esteban Ocon and Sebastian Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Joe and Yuki Tsunoda. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Right, well here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Singapore GP, round 17 of 22 of this season, and it does look like we could see some changeable conditions here. Meant to go from mediums to wets, and then back, well, mediums to dries to intermediates, and back to dry again. So how bad that rain will get is anybody's guess, but this could get really, really spicy here. Excited for it. Gonna keep the strategy where it's at the moment, because let's be fair, that's probably going to end up going out of the window here today. But as long as we can just try and nurse these medium tyres to that wet period, even if it's worth then going on a set of soft so we've got an extra grip during the slight tricky conditions. Who knows? It could go any which way, but bumped up to P10 then on the grid ready for this one by virtue of the fact half the cars in this field seem to have grid penalties. So fingers crossed we are going to be able to stay here, but we have got some fast cars behind us. Carlos Sainz there on the hards. We're going to have to make sure we get a better start than him. We're all over the back of Valtteri Bottas then as we head through the final corners, just trying to get some heat into the tyres. Let's see what we can try and... I seem to do that every race at the moment. I seem to be getting worse at F1 22. Now, some of you will probably comment I'm terrible at it anyway, but I don't know what's going on at this stage of the game, but trying to make sure we get the tyres up to temperature. Oh, I've botched that as well. This is going to be a disaster. It's going to be an absolute disaster. Here on the grid, though, Singapore Grand Prix, Bottas and Albon just in front, Sainz and Gasly just behind. Can we try and get a good start here today? Lights out, and away we go. And actually, look at that, down towards turn one there. We haven't lost the place. We haven't lost the place in towards the first corner there. As Sainz going to try and look around the outside. Oh, Albon a little bit offline there. We'll slice up around the outside of Albon and try to get around Valtteri Bottas. There he gets a big wiggle on the exit of the corner. Mick Schumacher jumping himself up into P5 there. So both our cars making progress as Alonso sits on the exit onto the Raffles Boulevard here on that one. Can we try and potentially get a run on the Alpine car there as well? Have a look to the inside. Not quite confident enough on that one. Of course, cold tyres, cold brakes, everything like that. As Bottas there tried to fling it back around the outside of myself, but gaining 2 places then off the start here in Singapore. I've tried to have a bit of a clean out on my pedals. I think that's why I was getting so many bad starts on F1 22. I think my pedals are slowly giving up the ghost anyway, but yeah, that was a pretty clean, tidy start then here in Singapore. Exactly what we want, exactly what we need here. Start of this GP, but Bottas thinking about it down at the hairpin, as looks like, I'm guessing Max Verstappen has taken the lead away from George Russell.
About 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Saying rain 10 to 15 minutes from now, so that could make things really, really interesting here. Of course, we don't have the weather forecast set on accurate, we've got it set on more realistic, of course, so that rain could be a lot heavier, it could be next to nothing at all, it could only last 2 minutes, it could last to the end of the Grand Prix, we just don't know. But trying to thread the needle through the final few corners here, got to try and settle down into a rhythm nice and quickly. Of course, Singapore, quite twisty street circuit, a bit like Monaco. You've really just got to try and get that tunnel vision in nice and early, as yeah, it is Verstappen then, I'm pretty certain, who leads the way at the end of lap 1. But we are all over the back of Alonso, and hopefully going to be able to pile on some pressure. Really? We're 2 laps in! How has the DRS already failed? It did it in free practice as well, funnily enough. Luckily, of course, the wing's down, but... Why, Codemasters? I need DRS round here if we want to try and do anything. But at the moment, we're just trying to hang on to the Alpine.
Okay, DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
My DRS won't get enabled this lap. The team seems to have lost the ability to build a Formula 1 car. Everyone else will get it, but I certainly won't. Starting lap 5 then of the Singapore Grand Prix. We are just kind of slowly putting ourselves in a bit of no man's land early on in the race. Team is still talking about the rain there, but loving to see Mick Schumacher running nice and high up the order, best of the rest at the moment, up in P5. Of course, got a bit unlucky last weekend out in the Italian GP. Could have, well, I think it would have been unlikely he could have hung on for a podium, but he definitely deserved some good points that weekend. But yeah, Bottas 1.1 behind, also 1.1 in front. The main thing, of course, is just waiting for that DRS to come back online. And, of course, when the rain will come, how bad it'll be, because we are trying to nurse the tyres a little bit. Team reckon the rain should arrive about lap 12, lap 13, which, for the AI, is normally right as they make a swap over to hards. Well, it looks like the DRS is now back online for us, but we are not within 1 second of Fernando Alonso, as we're on to lap 7 now of this Grand Prix. I feel like we have settled down quite nicely into a rhythm here, as hopefully now just going to get within that 1 second zone. Yes, we are. Love to see that. But can we now start applying the pressure here? Like I said, struggled in qualifying, but race pace so far seems pretty good. I think George Russell desperately trying to defend from Sergio Perez. That Red Bull on a good weekend out here, as that is Yuki Tsunoda, I think, pulling over to the wayside. Tsunoda out of the Singapore Grand Prix there, after taking some grid penalties. Sure, AlphaTauri will have a lot of questions for Honda, and a disappointing very early end to Yuki's weekend.
Rain is forecast in just over 10 minutes time. Rain in 10 minutes.
So the rain is definitely coming in then. But yeah, dry tyres, of course, still. Thanks for that, Mark. Still looking fast, but yeah, I mean, 10 minutes is about 6 laps here, so it is still definitely on the way. But it might just be taking a little bit longer to get here than everyone had originally anticipated. Our tyre wear is, hopefully, yeah, that's looking pretty comfortable at the moment. We could easily take these tyres sort of towards lap 20 if needed. Tyre wear has often been one of my strong points around the Singapore streets as well, but come on, press the right buttons, Matt. There we go. Don't want the HUD covering up the screen all afternoon, but yeah, just hanging on to Alonso and Ricciardo now. Team now saying 10 to 15 minutes again, so no one really knows when the rain is meant to be getting here. But I think because, of course, Russell has been holding up the Red Bull of Perez and the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, it has sort of allowed Mick and us four as such just trying to hang on to the coattails of the front runners. We might rustle their feathers later on in the afternoon a lot more, but yeah, this has still got the option to be quite interesting, especially when you think, of course, we qualified P14 here. We didn't have any pace on Saturday night, but come Sunday, as often has been the story around Singapore, we just seem to be able to wind it up. I guess the other problem we've got early on in this GP is the fact Alonso still sat within the DRS there, as it looks like the top 4 have now finally decided to get on with it. Purple through Sector 1, but yeah, if we want to try and get a run at Alonso, right, we're going to have to do it somewhere a bit more unorthodox, or hope that he somehow loses the DRS to Ricciardo. Otherwise, you can just see back end sliding around there as we head out through Sector 2. I mean, often we've been able to make a move over the Anderson Bridge on cars on games gone by. Yeah, we're not going to be close enough to Alonso that time around there, as all the Alpine does get a big kick of oversteer. Can we try and go wide in and therefore open up the run? No, really struggling actually still this weekend to try and get on the power as early as I normally would. I don't know whether, like I said, where I've tried to fix my pedals, whether it's just, of course, eliminated part of the muscle memory. But yeah, I don't know, it's just a bit strange. Perhaps it's Singapore as well. I've often found this track can handle really weirdly on the F1 games there, as I hate that curve. Just make it flat, code is. It's such a pain. Can we get a run then on Fernando Alonso as we head down the Raffles Boulevard here, starting lap 12 of the Singapore Grand Prix to the outside of the Alpine. Oh, he's going to give me a big old squeeze there. We use the curbing on the exit, but we somehow get around the outside. We'll make sure we give him the room through the next corner. Team loving that one, but yeah, Alonso I'm sure not too happy about it as we drop back slightly away from Ricciardo, but making good progress then, up now finally into 7th place here. It's been a fairly slow burn, sort of first third of this race, but rain's imminent now according to the team as well, so we've just got to keep our head down and prepare for anything. Oh, here we go, the rain's here just 1 lap later in Singapore, so how is this going to change things up? Like I said, it might not get heavy enough that we need to worry, On the other hand, it might mean we've just got to make a few laps work on the intermediate tyres and try to reclaw back little time lost. But this is going to get really, really interesting here now in Singapore as Daniel Ricciardo there struggling over the Anderson Bridge. Traction is going to come at an absolute premium at the moment, but will we see the AI start to pit and follow their normal strategy and potentially blunder already? We're starting to get a few raindrops on the screen, so it might be quite a swift call over to Inters. DRS disabled as we come towards the end of lap 14. Surely that means now is the time to make the call there. We've got to box the end of this one, and we've got to come on to a set of intermediates there as Verstappen in the race lead is going to stay out for yet another lap here. Are we going to see anyone else in to the pit lane? I mean, you've got to call. No one else, though, coming into the pits at the front of the field there. Neither is Mick Schumacher or Daniel Ricciardo, but I certainly do feel like now is the time. You don't want to be left out there, of course, on the wrong tyres. And Senna always said, to win a race, you've got to be on the right tyres at the right time, and this is going to be a big, big gamble here in Singapore, but already struggling for grip a little bit on those mediums, so this is going to be very, very interesting. We might lose a bit of time early on in the lap. There's a team not really lined up. Come on, go, let me go. 5 seconds. That's not going to do us any favours there as well. We got one of the Ferraris though. Carlos Sainz onto a set of intermediates as well, so nice to know we aren't the only one. But now we just got to look after these tyres and make sure we get the undercut even, I should say. Because immediately, these aren't feeling bad. Feels like they are working with the rain. Immediately seems to have been a bit of an inspired call there, because already we're taking time hand over fist at Zhou Guanyu in this race. I mean, we lost about 2.5 seconds through the pit stop, but already we've basically clawed that back to the Alfa Romeo there, so this could be a big opportunity to try and jump quite a few cars in this race, as will Perez be forced to, of course, stay out for an extra lap there in the second Red Bull. No, it looks like Red Bull are double stacking, so it was definitely the right choice to box when we did, and now we've basically just got a little bit more to try and claw some free time as everyone else has to peter around into the pit lane here. I love races like this when it all gets a little bit unpredictable. Mick Schumacher, into the pit lane there, was maybe getting a little bit overzealous on the throttle, trying to take time out of Zhou Guanyu, heading down through the final few corners. Through the final couple of corners, though, of lap 15, all over the back now of Zhou Guanyu, as everyone diving into the pit lane. Looks like Daniel Ricciardo might have got the jump on Mick Schumacher, then maybe Alonso has done the same as well. But where will we come out in comparison to all of these other cars? There is Mick Schumacher, there is Alonso. We've definitely got the jump on Mick, but has Alonso somehow jumped me there around the outside of the Alpine will go on the exit of turn 2 there. He's still got to try and get his tyres up to temperature. We have to make this move work. Up the inside, they're super aggressive. But the second move of the day completed on Fernando Alonso. We might leave him vulnerable to Mick Schumacher behind as well. But up now into P6 of the Singapore Grand Prix. But look how wet the track's getting so quickly here. We could see a move over onto the full wets, but you just don't know. Well, we found out last weekend during Italian GP qualifying how not particularly suited to the wet conditions this Haas car is, and Daniel Ricciardo is just opening up a gap in front of me here, so I think it's just going to be trying to walk away with as many points as we can. But Alonso, 6 cents back, we can try and defend from the Alpine. That could be quite critical here, but yeah, both myself and Mick Schumacher, maybe not quite with the wet pace of the cars around us. Starting lap 20 then of the Singapore Grand Prix. I mean, this track in these conditions. Okay, team saying it should go back to dries quite shortly. Yeah, it does look like the rain is slowly coming to an end. But yeah, I was just trying to say, Singapore in these slippery conditions is one of the hardest challenges you will ever do on an F1 game. Of course, such an endurance event anyway. And I mean, 2017 Singapore Grand Prix, that one was chaotic to say the least. Back in the day there, trying to thread the needle around this circuit. Of course, even in the dry we struggled yesterday, of course, in qualifying. Lucky not to hit the wall when we looped it round in qualifying. But yeah, Mick Schumacher and myself both struggling for pace at the moment. Alonso tries to send it on me down at turn 3 every lap, and then just drops back a few tenths and then slowly pulls it back up around the lap there. But Ricciardo has just checked out there. I mean, he's matching the pace of the front runners at the moment, so Ricciardo, really a bit of a wet weather master this weekend, but we've even got Bottas and Carlos Sainz there trying to close in this Grand Prix. Of course, Charles Leclerc will once again look like he's going to get a big gap opening at the top of the championship there. Sainz has just not had much luck since the Dutch Grand Prix, but yeah, 7 seconds the gap now opens up to between myself and Daniel Ricciardo. It's just about now trying to call when to switch back to dries inside the final 10 laps here in Singapore. Team trying to recommend new strats. Surely not yet. And be going back to dries. It's still raining. What is Mark on about?
Got that confirmed.
Oh no, we are seeing cars into the pits though. I definitely don't want to be going on to hards for the checkered flag. If we're doing anything, we're going on to a fresh set of the soft compound tyres to see us through the final 10 laps of this Grand Prix. But apparently, yeah, there's still quite a bit of moisture in the air, but the track is drying out there as Fernando Alonso has just tried to barge his way down the inside, down over the Anderson Bridge there. We are going to be drag racing with the Alpine down into Sector 3. And I'm not willing to give up on this one just yet. There, Fernando Alonso certainly didn't feel like the move was on. But we are starting to cause a bit of a train here late on in the Singapore Grand Prix. I don't know whether the Alpine has picked up some front wing damage in all of that. But of course, Mick Schumacher going to lose a little bit of time behind us as well, as I'm sure everyone double stacking in this race. So Perez, he might lose out on P2 to George Russell once more, but heading through the final few corners. Daniel Ricciardo onto a set of softs. I saw one car, Charles Leclerc, onto a set of mediums. We don't have a clean set of mediums to see us through to the checkered flag, but we're going to bolt on a set of softs there as well. Just got the car slowed down into the pit lane. I hope you appreciated my Santa Claus impression there on the way into the box, but clean, tidy pit stop this time round, please, team. We cannot afford any more theatrics late on in the Singapore Grand Prix. 2.3, that's what we want. And we're even going to help Mick Schumacher slightly. You know he is going to get held up behind those other cars there, but out of the pits we come. We are definitely not boxing again in this Grand Prix, but Ricciardo also on soft, so is Alonso. So once again then, clearly we're not going against the grain as much as I thought we would be. I really don't enjoy seeing Mick Schumacher get a little bit screwed in these races, of course, but both cars desperately did need to pit on that lap and that lap alone. And yeah, it's just frustrating, of course, for him. But, you know, we did make that brave strategy call earlier on in the race that put us ahead of our teammate. But, yeah, the team's still adamant we're going to have to box again before the end. So I'm wondering if we could see Ricciardo and Alonso having to make a late pit stop here if they don't believe the softs can go far enough. But purple through Sector 1, that's what we love to see. Haas, of course, still hold the lap record here at Singapore. Kevin Magnussen back in 2018. Just realised I've had this all wrong all afternoon. It's Sergio Perez that leads the way here in Singapore. I couldn't quite see on the timing at the end of lap 1 there as we were trying to go through the final couple of corners which Red Bull it was in the lead, so I kind of just presumed it was Max Verstappen at the front of the field. But no, Checo Perez leads the way here in Singapore. Daniel Ricciardo, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Are we going to be able to go any quicker than the McLaren? He's going to be close, actually, between myself and Danny Rick. In a word, no. I think there was like 300s between us. But yeah, Perez leads the way here in Singapore. We've got yellow flags out. So now AlphaTauri, it must be Gasly. Oh, it's been a nightmare weekend for AlphaTauri here. And it looks like we're going to see 2 cars retire from the Singapore Grand Prix. And it is going to be both of the AlphaTauris there. As George Russell now, new fast lap on a 1:39.9. That is our second stricken AlphaTauri of the weekend. Major reliability issues for them as I kind of second guess myself down through the Singapore sling. But yeah, once we get back to the dries, we have once again had the pace over Fernando Alonso. This Haas is a bit weird. When you've got peak grip and it's in the optimum conditions, it is a very quick race car. My best way, honestly, to describe it is a bit like the 2021 Williams. Of course, when that thing was in the right operating window, it was, you know, able to sort of hang on a lot higher up the order. But if anything is out of the ordinary, this thing just sinks like a stone. A bit like the 2021 Williams. And now we are seeing more cars into the pits on lap 26, so I wonder if all of the soft runners don't think they can make it to the end. Of course, I'm going to absolutely gamble it. Why wouldn't I? Not much to lose. Not much to gain and an awful lot to lose if we do box. But yeah, tyres are absolutely fine. We should see them through comfortably to the end. But I don't know. Of course, we know Ricciardo and Alonso are both also on softs. I don't know about anyone else, though, in this race. We could start seeing some odd pit calls. Charles Leclerc's definitely going to the end. We know that. But who else might have the box? As that's exactly what I mean immediately. Sergio Perez into the pit lane at the end of lap 26 there. So one Red Bull is certainly going to have to pit before the end of this. Will Max Verstappen be on the same strategy as his teammate there? Looks like the top three now all stay out. But will we see Ricciardo then into the pit lane? I think we are. Ricciardo into the box as well. Fernando Alonso, therefore, will probably have to pit. And we could be up into P5 then of this Grand Prix. Maybe even more if all those cars are still having to pit before the end of this race there. Sergio Perez is still going to be out comfortably in front of me. But you never know. If Verstappen, Russell, or obviously Leclerc we know won't, have to box by the end, we could be on for a podium seemingly out of nowhere. So there we go, Max Verstappen into the pit lane as well then at the end of lap 27. So have Red Bull just completely thrown this Grand Prix away there. Looks like Russell as well as Leclerc then both on a set of mediums to see him home to the checkered flag there. We've got SAINZ breathing down our neck as well. But we could out of nowhere be on potentially for P4 in the Singapore Grand Prix. We had no pace on Saturday. We really did struggle there and we were just ahead of the back markers. But now, suddenly, we're fighting for big, big points. Whoa! What? Carlos Sainz! What was that? Just tried to launch it at the inside, down into the tunnel, and he might have caused a roadblock. Riding on board though with Carlos Sainz, you can see we were slightly slow off the corner before, but that was never gonna work for the Spaniard there, and he has blocked the pit, sorry, not the pit lane even, Max Verstappen. I think the Red Bull is gonna work out a way through. No, Max Verstappen's stuck. What is happening there? We've got another car into it, and Valtteri Bottas nowhere to go. Has Sainz caused chaos towards the end of this race? I mean, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts and feelings on that one. But, I mean, that corner is not one for overtaking. And Sainz was a long, long way back on the entry. But it has meant we got a bit of clean space now to the cars behind. It's actually going to promote Mick Schumacher back up into P7 as well, though. Because I think Lewis Hamilton is going to have to pit for a new front wing there. The same for Valtteri Bottas, which is going to relegate the Alfa Romeo out of the top 10 there. And I think that pushes Albon and his Williams back inside the top 10, so happy news for Alex Albon. But yeah, Sainz causing carnage late on in the day, and once more it's another contact between myself and Carlos Sainz. There, of course, made contact back at Spa, made contact last time out at Monza. What is it between myself and the Spaniard? Well, starting the final lap though of the Singapore Grand Prix, the tyres are absolutely gone at the moment. I can see why the AI didn't want to go this long on the softs, because I mean Verstappen, I think he's taken about 4 seconds out of me on that last lap there. We did make a couple of small mistakes. But yeah, again, just so shocked that Sainz would send it there. But clearly, neither of us are on each other's Christmas card list. We don't often make enemies like that on F1 22. But yeah, Sainz and I in the Haas Road to Glory certainly are not friends at the moment, as we're just trying to round our way through this final lap. Though against all the odds, somehow George Russell is going to walk away with the dub today. Red Bull clearly had the pace, but Sergio Perez, I'm sure the tyre whisperer himself, would have been able to get those softs right the way home to the checkered flag there. But yeah, a race that saw changeable conditions, interesting strategy mix-ups as well. But somehow we qualified P14, we got promoted to P10 on the grid, and I just wanted to try and bring home some solid points today. Again, a bit like Zandvoort, I didn't expect this track to suit our car. We've got plenty of spare fuel though, apparently, as we round our way through the final couple of turns. George Russell will win the Singapore Grand Prix though. I don't know if that's his first win of the year in the Haas Road to Glory. Charles Leclerc, championship leader, will finish right behind him, as once again that's going to be another 18 points. Leclerc extends his championship lead. Perez will come through to make it 3 cars from 3 different teams on the podium. It's not quite going to be a podium for us, but it is going to be another solid haul of points there as we round the final few corners of the Singapore Grand Prix. One more lap, Verstappen would have had me, but we've only just hung on and done enough.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix. And they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take the top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. So let's review the drivers' standings. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone did a better job today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One, so be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Singapore Grand Prix, and 10th to 4th in the end. A very, very good result for ourselves there. But George Russell takes home the dub there, 9/10 clear of Charles Leclerc, but 54 minutes worth of racing here at Marina Bay. It really is a test of endurance, this Singapore GP there. But Leclerc P2 ahead of Perez and myself, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher there ending up in a McLaren sandwich, as Lando Norris recovered quite nicely into P8. Alonso does walk home with P9, and Alex Albon getting points for Williams there in at P10, just ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who had a nightmare weekend this time out. They're just the Alpha Towers and Carlos Sainz, who didn't see it through to the checkered flag. Championship-wise, though, it does mean that George Russell, now a long way ahead of Hamilton there, 15 points the gap has opened up to, but we're just 2 points now behind the 7-time Formula One World Champion there. Charles Leclerc now with a 63-point lead at the top of the table. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez still very, very close together, so there is still a lot to dispute between now and the end of the campaign. Schumacher gets the jump on Zhou Guanyu, of course carried along from his result way back at Imola, which seems like a very, very long time ago. Now on constructors-wise, Williams just pull out an extra point ahead of Aston Martin at this stage of the game as well there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will return very, very soon with more F1 22 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.